Welcome to this video on cyber related investigation. For the CISSP exam, it's important that you understand the requirements for investigation type, whether it be administrative, criminal, civil, and so on. And we are going to cover each of those in this video. Now, as a security professional, you are very likely to be involved in an investigation at some point throughout your career. And this is where you are going to systematically examine, study, or inquire a violation of security. And then we are going to determine, was that violation criminal, was it civil, was it administrative, and then go from there. Now, normally an investigation in this context reference either a criminal or civil proceeding or case. And within that proceeding, there are two different parties that you need to know. One of them is the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the party initiating the legal action. Basically, the plaintiff is accusing somebody of doing something. You did this, and the party that they are accusing is called the defendant. They are the one who have disputed the accusation from the plaintiff. So basically, you have the plaintiff saying you did something, and the defendant is saying no, I didn't do that. Now the plaintiff has what's called the burden of proof. So the plaintiff must prove that the accusation that they are claim against the defendant are true to certain degree. Now, in a criminal case, which we will talk about here in a second, the proof must be beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable person must believe that the defendant committed whatever crime or offense that the plaintiff is accusing them of. In a civil proceeding, you have what's called preponderance of evidence, which is much lesser standard of the burden of proof. So basically, you need to prove the fault or liability versus actual reasonable doubt. So when we get into investigation, normally we are not going to just decide, hey, this is going to be a criminal investigation. Normally, what we do is this a part of incident response, which we'll talk about in a future video. But really, what you will do when you respond to a cyber incident, you are just going to start your investigation to figure out what happened. As you start collecting evidence and you start discovering what took place, it will eventually become apparent to you what probably happened here. This could be something criminal, where we could need to get law enforcement involved, or it could be as simple as this is just an administrative violation. This is really an internal investigation over anything. It doesn't involve law enforcement. You don't have to call the law enforcement. You don't have to get any lawyer involved or anything like that. But this could be as simple as acceptable use policy on your system. And maybe somebody was using a computer in a manner they were not supposed to. Now you violated the administrative policy. So we will investigate that. We will come up with the evidence to prove they violate that. And then we can go from there. When things get serious, that's when we get into the criminal realm. So this is where we are going to investigate violation of a potential crime like data theft, security breach, things like that. This will come down primarily to jurisdiction or authority. Who has authority to press charges or make an arrest based on a crime committed? So this could be federal crime, it could be a local crime, something like that. But computer crime, for the most part, at least in the United States of America, they are all federal. They are crime against the United States of America. Meaning the nation has jurisdiction. So we have organization like the Federal Bureau of Investigation or other things that will do investigation for cyber related crime. Then you have civil, which is you are going to investigate violation of private manner. For example, a violation of business contract, a violation of service level agreement, a violation of some kind of support contract, things like that. That would be a civil matter. And then we have a regulatory investigation. This is where we are investigating. Mainly we are looking to compliance things. So we are investigating violation of any industry regulation, and that mainly has to do with compliance. So if somebody has violated a standing law that pertains to your industry, if that violation occurred, then we would end up doing an investigation. We might actually find out that it might become a civil matter, or it could become a criminal matter as well. Now, where we get involved in this is we are going to support this collection and the preservation of evidence. So as we are going through the different computer or network device or whatever we are going to collect evidence, preserve that evidence and maintain what we call chain of custody. That's just proof that evidence has not been tampered with in any way. Now, what if your organization is being accused of a crime or a violation? Well, if you are the plaintiff, and I hope this never happened to you, but if you are the plaintiff, your job will be to preserve and collect evidence to defend your organization innocence. So now, as security professional, we need to go into the system, interview personnel, or do whatever we need to do to collect the proper evidence to prove that our organization is innocent of this crime or of this acquisition. But if we are defending, then in this case we need to collect and preserve evidence to defend the organizational claim against the plaintiff. So if we have somebody within our system, say an insider threat, and they have committed a crime, now what we need to do is collect evidence to prove that insider committed that violation and prove it without a doubt. So what we could possibly win a civil or even a criminal. So the bottom line for cyber investigation is you really need to understand the burden of proof. That's very important. Beyond a reasonable doubt and preponderance of evidence. So beyond a reasonable doubt is for the criminal, preponderance of evidence is for civil matter. You want to understand the different type of investigation we talk about and also understand the responsibilities of security as both the plaintiff and the defendant.